Hello again, my knife-loving friends. Welcome to another overview / show and tell of a self-defense oriented tactical folder. This is going to be a review of a custom folder that I acquired a short while ago. I've owned a custom folder by this maker before. I was intrigued by the design elements as well as the aesthetics. I wasn't excited about one element of it, which I'll discuss, but that ultimately led me to this knife. So the maker I'm talking about is Chris Martin, also known as Phantom Steelworks, and the folder that I have today for you is a Skinwalker. That's the name of the design. The knife I owned before was a PK1 or Phantom Karambit, and as far as the profile of this knife, it is very, very similar to the PK1. It just doesn't have a ring back here. Normally there would be a ring. And just to get right into why I got rid of the Phantom Karambit and favored trying to obtain this knife, or one of these knives, because they're all a little different, but one of these Skinwalkers, I wanted to obtain one of these because it doesn't have the ring. And the reason I was not fond of the ring is, you'll see the clip right here. Imagine the clip in the same position as on this knife, only you have this big ring, and it is a tip-up carry only. That ring protruded from the pocket quite a bit. It just didn't make for a comfortable carry to me. I didn't like having that much exposed from the pocket. It would hit things, the ring would hit things and shift around and whatnot. So like I said, that led me to the Skinwalker ultimately. It took me a while to get this. I never reviewed my PK1. I gave that honor to somebody else when I traded it away. He also has a YouTube channel. You can look at that. It's Peter Moore. I don't know the spelling offhand. Maybe I'll put a link in there so you guys can check it out. Or you could just type in Phantom Steelworks. I'm sure that would bring up the review at some point. Anyways, let's get into this knife. Alright, I'm going to shift some focus around here. My autofocus is just loopy lately, so. We have a full titanium frame. You see we have a sculpted titanium clip. The anodization on this piece is kind of bronze and purple in color. You see the blade is pretty well centered. One of the quirks of this knife, this particular one, is if you play with it a lot, opening and closing, the centering comes off as the screw backs out a little bit. I might thread lock it or whatnot at some point. I just don't want to screw that up, so I haven't done it yet. You can see a lot of jimping, almost, well, we'll just call it 3/4 length of the handle on the back. Aids in both aesthetics as well as indexing or grip properties. Smooth on the non-locking side. And Chris does texture lots of them. Some of them by request he'll do smooth, but he puts the mech finish on a lot of them, and that's pretty cool. You can see jimping here on the spine of the blade. It's not really rough, it's shallow. Provides good indexing, a good placement point for the thumb. You can see the relief cut for the lock bar is pretty thick, and that does come into play because the lockup is quite secure. You can see the relief for the lock itself is jimped for basically an easy purchase during the unlocking process. Alright. Let's open this guy up here. Opening is via this cutout, which is nicely placed. You see there's a concave cutout so that your thumb can hit it. A natural kind of motion just to come out of the pocket and hit that. It does require some effort to break detent. It has a very heavy detent, which, depending on your opinion, may be a good thing, may be a bad thing. Let me back this out to about this level here. Okay. Alright, so that's it, fully opened. Much like the PK1, it has the same angulation as far as how the point will be oriented when you hold it. You'll see the ergonomics are very good. Put my index finger in there, put the thumb on the back. There is an indentation right where your thumb could go in a saber grip. And then the rest of your hand just falls naturally into place. Somewhat of a shallow pinky hook back here. And that's pretty cool. So there you are in a hammer grip. Extending the fist all the way out. You see this is a thrust-oriented design. It's stab / thrust centric. The edge itself, the cutting edge is only about 2 inches in length. The full length with the shallow choil areas here is bringing up the blade up to a 3.5 inch length. These little scallops right here, if you want to call them that, those are purely aesthetic. They make it look wicked. There is a mech finish. Bring this in closer. There is mech finish. We're sculpting on the non-sharpened portion of the blade around the opening. I don't want to call it a hole, but it is a hole. But anyways, we'll just call it a hole, opening hole. And you'll see the mech finish continues along the very top of the blade grind. It is flat ground. This is really cool. On the spine of the blade, once again, just for aesthetic purposes, he's got these, it's basically like a hammered finish. Don't know how well my camera portrays that, but it's pretty neat texturing. Alright. Okay, so this is this was designed as a primarily as a self-defense piece. As Chris pointed out, from his perspective, after carrying one of the first ones he made around for a while, it's a fine EDC as well. Looking at it from the self-defense point, though, that's that's primary channel coverage here. Like I said, it's stab or thrust oriented, so strong arms of the bone, aligned with the wrist, aligned with the point of the blade. You just drive in and you can rip out. If you're taking, let's see, if you're taking like a slashing perspective, you tilt your wrist out like you would with a normal knife, and it just becomes like kind of like a reaping hook or like any other hawkbill type blade. Only it won't gather material, it'll kind of push it away. So once again, I say it's thrust centric. I'd like to bring out a TDI knife at this time. Tactical Defense Institute fixed blade, the original model of it, is another reason that I like this knife. These possess the same attributes and almost the same angulation. And once again, TDI knife was designed as a weapons retention or edged weapon for law enforcement personnel. Possesses the same kind of qualities, but it has more belly. Great knife. Let's see here. Oops, Mr. Camera. Hello. Hello, Mr. Camera. Okay. All right. Like I said, this attribute right here, where you punch out, and upon insertion, basically you would rip. Okay, that makes it a pretty devastating piece, despite its small overall size. It would be, I think, a pretty great piece to carry around, especially in blade length restrictive environments. I didn't show you guys the lockup. Should show you that. Get an idea how thick this lock bar is. Check that out. It's a nice early lockup. Very thick. It's engaged solidly behind that blade. Look at that lock relief cutout right there. Pretty cool. So, anyways, I think it's a great blade. My PK1, it seemed to have more handle space, so it's a bigger knife. I think this is smaller in profile. It fits my hand a lot better. I have like medium hands, and this fits it just perfectly. If you had really large hands, I don't know that this knife would be ideal, but as it is, I think it's great. You can carry it, or you could use it in a reverse grip, at which point it becomes something you would uppercut and slash upwards with. And in a sense, if you're into like the clinch pick, reverse edge in tactics, this would actually facilitate those kinds of movements, in the sense where when you're using inverted edge tactics, you're using the back muscles basically to thrust, insert, and rip. In the same way, you'd be able to do that with this knife, thrust, insert, and rip. And it does that, with the added bonus of, in the forward grip like this, it's a very comfortable knife as well to use. And if you're using it just like you would be using a traditional hawkbill, you'd be able to have those same kinds of effects, like it's operating as a claw, and it would still do pretty well. As I received this, the edge wasn't initially what I would expect. I wasn't too happy with the sharpness of it. I tuned it up a little bit, stropped it, and I seem to have come to a point where it's pretty sharp. So I'm no longer disappointed with the edge. And as far as unlocking it goes, the lock sticks a little bit. You can actually probably hear that little click. That's the lock disengaging. It's not super buttery smooth, but these pieces that Chris makes, let's just get back to talk mode here. These pieces that Chris makes, they're very unique aesthetically. Every one of them looks a little different. And I'm not sure. I think that he just uses power tools. I don't think he's using any advanced equipment like water jet or anything like that. So this is, there's a lot of personal artistic expression in his pieces. I enjoy that, and I think he's a great maker. Definitely has a flair for the dramatic and the knife design. And like he says, take it or leave it. You don't like it, oh well. If it doesn't appeal to you, oh well. He's going to express himself as an artist through these knives, and he does a very good job, in my opinion. The point I'm looking at it from is it's beautiful and functional. It'll do exactly what he designed it to do, and be an attractive piece of art that you can carry around with you. So that is all I want to say about this wonderful piece. Once again, Chris Martin, also known as Phantom Steelworks. Thumbs up in my opinion. You all have a wonderful day. I'll see you next time.